Good morning. This is Ken Long here to talk about the action research model of researching and acting. So it takes the general proposition that the knowledge of the world is necessarily limited and that the people who know best are those who are intimately engaged in the environment trying to solve problems. And so we want to combine the idea of informed action with a research component iteratively so that we can improve our understanding of the world and improve our actions in the world. There's a long multi decade history of action research as a research discipline, and it's something that looks very attractive to learning organizations that are trying to improve their competitive advantage in a dynamic world by bringing in an explicit learning component to the operations that they normally conduct. And so, taken together, you get action and research together in a single learning operating model. So, it takes the general form of identifying the problem and envisioning what success looks like, developing a plan of action, collecting data, analyzing that data to draw conclusions that are justified. See the discussion on the Toolman argument model as a way to do that well. And then actually reporting the results. This is where one of the research components comes from, in that we are exposing our results to critical thought and dialogue and discourse by others, and that we use those results as reported to adjust our theory of action or how the world works, and then conducting another cycle of identifying the problem and envisioning success, but built on the feedback that we got from the last cycle of informed action. And so, a typical way that this might flow stepwise is considering all of the contextual components of the environment, and then doing some problem finding, problem framing, en route to problem solving. We might tentatively start with a definition of a problem, go to the world to conduct some initial literature review or reconnaissance or considering sources, interviews, and whatever has been published. This might immediately cause us to come back and review the problem statement and the problem frame and the problem environment. And then from our initial understanding, we might develop research steps, conduct that research according to a methodology, and then analyze that research in such a way that we can improve our understanding. We might have feedback from that analysis on how to adjust research steps or picking the appropriate methodology, um, all the way back up into deciding what the next cycle of reconnaissance ought to be, but also going from that analysis and the publication of those research results, communicating that to stakeholders and other interested folks to gain their insights in order to apply those findings to the reality on the ground. And so you get this virtuous cycle with constant feedback loops where we're always conducting reflective thought about the actions that we've taken. And so it's normal to see action research involving a community of practice, so that you have local and interested experts taking a look at not only the specific things you're doing, but the underlying assumptions and facts, and who you have added to the stakeholder list, who else needs to be there, and what areas of literature need to be incorporated, or what pieces of theory might shed some light. And so typically the researchers themselves can either be members of that community of practice associated with it, or could be outside experts maybe brought in to help shepherd the method through, or to provide some critical standoff distance for reflection. So there are a number of different choice points that can be brought to bear in order to design the specific implementation. But the main point to make here is that action research says that it's probably not enough anymore simply to act in the world and then stumble through it. But if we can bring some research into the effort, we can improve those actions as we go and in the next cycle of action. But that research itself is insufficient, that unless we are also acting in the world, that we won't make a difference in the world. So it's really understanding the combined effort of both action and research, that you get this hybrid methodology and frame of reference called the action research model. Very appropriate way for learning organizations that are active in the world to add a little more rigor and transparency and accountability and explicitness to their operations. So, the action research model. Thanks for your kind attention.